Hi, welcome back to Amanda Love Sense and Books. I'm going to do the mid-year freakout tag um, for the books that I've read so far this year. So far, I've read 35 out of my goal of 75. So I'm about halfway to my goal this year. So we shall see. I'll go ahead and get started. What is the best book you've read this year? Forever Boy by Kate Swenson is a memoir of a mother trying to get her son's autism diagnosis. Um, my youngest is on the autism spectrum, and it just made me feel like, hey, I'm not the only one that went through some of these feelings, and also that it's it's about the same when trying to get diagnoses across the country and not just here. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's not, depending on your area and getting people to listen to you. So if you are going through getting your child's an autism diagnosis, I do suggest reading or listening to this book. I did borrow it from my library via ebook, so I do plan to try to own it in the future when I see a physical copy. But I did love that book. And then the best sequel I've read this year would be I haven't read a whole bunch of sequels. The Lunar Chronicles. I've only read Cinder and Scarlet so far because that's the only ones my library has. But they're both by Marissa Meyer. And then those were really good. They're a Cinderella is Cinder retelling, and they're almost like a cyborg robot type thing. And then in Cinder, it's more of a Red Riding Hood retelling. So both of those were really good. I still want to read the other books in that series. And then the Captain Hook one, I cannot remember the name of it. Did I write it down? No, but that's the only other sequel I've read this year. But it's by Serena Valentino. She wrote the Villain series, and that is the latest one out, and that is about Captain Hook, and it was really good. What is a new release you want to read this year? Fire and Fate, which is the next one in the Serena Valentino series. It comes out in July, I want to say. That's the next one I want to read. And I think it's Things We Hide in the Light by Lucy Score. And then the other one that comes out, I think that one's already out. I borrowed it from my library. And then the next one comes out in September, but I cannot remember the name of it. But I want to read both of those. Okay, well, I got it on here. Most anticipated book coming out this year, Things We Left Behind by Lucy Score. I really loved Things We Never Got Over. I gave that a 5 out of 5 stars, and I really liked that book, so I wanted to continue reading in the series. Biggest disappointment. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, but Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. It was a 2 to a 3 star for me. I just did not like it. The almost like miscommunication trope after so many years, and that's why, like, she couldn't have told him, this is why, and she just, I didn't like it. It didn't stick it for me. I do like Christina Lauren's writing. I love the Honey Don't List last year, but this one I just no. So biggest surprise, Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. I mean, I'm surprised that I am surprised by that book, but the way I took it, I wouldn't like it, but I loved it. Like a mother trying to do everything she can for her kids and her family and for everyone else, and she didn't give up, and trying to keep going when you have a rebelling daughter who wants to go and do different things than you do. And it's during the Dust Bowl of the 1920s and 30s. I think that's when it was taken. It was really, really beautiful. I cried at the end, as I do with most Kristen Hanna books. This is my third one by her. I read The Nightingale, this one, and Fire Lane. I've still not watched the adaptation to that, but I do plan to, hopefully soon when I get time. New favorite author, I would have to say Lucy Score and Kristen Hanna. Both of those I've loved so far. But yeah, I love their books that I have read so far by them. Book that made me cry. Well, I'm a crier to some books. So The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna, Forever Boy, the mother's memoir by Katie Swenson, and then A Thousand Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. I cried the most to that book. It was on Kindle Unlimited. I'm not sure if it still is. I cried from almost the beginning of that book until the end of it. It is an emotional tearjerker book throughout it. It's about two, I can't even remember their names at this point, but because I read it in like February, I think, but it made me cry from beginning to end. A book that made me happy, again, Forever Boy, because it made me feel seen in the autism world, that I'm not the only one that goes through this, and sometimes it's hard because you get put in this bubble. Sorry, my kid's playing on the table. With your kid, and you feel so alone because there's not a lot of people that you know, because Austin is the only one that in my family that has autism. Stop shaking the table. So it was a big thing for us when he did get diagnosis. It was a big adjustment for us going through the autism diagnosis and seeing what other people see. It was a lot, and knowing that there's someone else out there that went through those same stages as you did, and not every autism story is the same, and that's the way it made you feel, but in some ways there is, because when you meet one kid on the spectrum, you meet one kid on the spectrum. One kid may love slime, but another kid may not. You know, there's different aspects to the whole spectrum. That's why it is a spectrum. There's a couple other books that I've listened to this year on the spectrum, but that was my favorite of it. Books I still need to read. There's so many that I put on my 23 books I want to read this year. Red, White, and Royal Blue, Redeeming Love, The Honeymooners, People We Meet on Vacation, The Vanishing Half, The Girl from Widow Hills, The Deal, The Masterpiece, The Lovely Bones, Crushing It, and The 7 or 8 Deaths of Stella Ortega. Those are just some of the books I had from there. I've only read like 2 or 3 off of that list, so I need to get down to it. I need to go back and rewatch some of those and see which ones I do need to read, which series books I need to read. But those are just some that I do need to get to. I hope you enjoyed this mid-year book freak out tag, and I hope you like and subscribe. I would love to have you here, and I hope you have a good rest of the day.